Welcome to another Forte Growth episode where we interview people doing awesome things online.
Welcome to the Forte Growth podcast. I'm with the Forte Analytica SEO agency. Today, we have no one that needs an introduction, Neil Patel. It was a very short interview. It was only about 25 minutes. He was running late all day. He had to jump on another meeting, etc. But all good. We just dive into a few different things around what he's currently doing, his agency, what he does. We dive into his social strategy, some of his personal branding things, link building strategies, just a few different bits and pieces, as much as we could get out of him in that short time. So hopefully you enjoy this. Give it a share, give it a like, all that good stuff. But sit back and enjoy. Welcome to the Forte Growth podcast, home of the Forte Analytica SEO agency. But today we have Neil Patel, the legend. Welcome, Neil.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on and sharing your time. But we've only got about 30 minutes. We're going to go through this. And I think most people kind of know who you are. You're actually the most well-known SEO in the industry, at least, and a huge YouTube following and everything else. So let's just start with, what are you currently doing? What's currently on your plate business-wise? What are you looking at going forward? And we can just start there.
So I'm similar to you. Business-wise, I run an ad agency called NP Digital. We've grown quite a bit. I think we'll be around 1,000 employees by the end of this year.
Holy, okay.
We're still growing. We're still a small company, though, in the ad agency world, right? We're not like a WPP where we have like 100,000 employees, but we're slowly clipping away. I love putting out content on social, spending a lot of time buying up other agencies. We're in talks right now to buy up 2 more, and hopefully they close soon. And, maybe we find a few other businesses later on and go from there.
So what's your strategy then? Are you just rolling up as many agencies as you can just to create one massive one?
No, not really. It's filling the infills or like filling the void. So for example, we're in an LOI right now to acquire an agency in Asia. They're in a territory that we're in, but we barely have any people in that territory where they have like 100 plus people and they have enterprise customers. And we know we can take their customers and sell them on more regions in Asia that company is not in. And we can sell them on more services that they're not selling to those customers. And then we can take our customers and provide them more of those regions, because we get requests from our customers being like, hey, are you guys in this region? We really want. And we're building it out organically. But as you know, it takes a long time. So when we find like the right agency, the right culture and everything lines up, sometimes we just go and, try it out and see if we can buy. It's not just about revenue and growth rate and profit. The biggest thing is the work that they produce good and is a culture fit there, because if those things don't line up, then it just doesn't matter.
Do they get rolled in under NP Digital, or do they stay their own brand and they're kind of like a branch?
Sure. So like we bought an agency that does creative work last November. I think we announced it in January or February of this year. And it was called Rebel House. And Rebel House has they do commercials that you can use on social media or television or, Amazon or Netflix or any ad supported platform. And they've done TV commercials like with Jennifer Lopez holding up a Goli vitamin bottle. And they've done clever creative marketing techniques like, this will give me some Genergy, right? She's just playing off her name. And companies like that, it's called, like if you visit their website, it would be Rebel House by NP Digital. But eventually, as the market and their customers are more familiar with our brand, which takes time, we will eventually integrate it where it'll just be NP Digital. We don't want an agency where we have like 10, 12 different brands. We just want one brand. And we want to provide customers with amazing experience that is the same, whether they're working with us on creative or SEO or paid ads, or they're working with us in India versus Australia or the US. We want the experience to be congruent.
Nice. So what does your day-to-day look like then within these businesses? Obviously, you're not doing all the grunt work within these.
No, I still actually do a lot of grunt work though. But most of my day is spent on things like calls, meetings, potential client pitches, client dinners, not just potential, but also existing customers and talking to them and strategy and working on some of the accounts, working on M&A and doing diligence and talking to some of the founders. When you're buying companies, a lot of times bankers try to get involved and it's a pain in the butt. It's just easier talking one-to-one.
Nice. And on the topic of buying agencies and whatnot, you also acquired other digital assets, things like Answer the Public, Stake and Uber Suggest too. So what's the play around those? Why go after those as part of your agency play?
A lot of those tools drive a lot of leads, and the tools monetize them just by monetizing the tool. We monetize them twofold, the tool and the leads. which makes the ROI much better. And we're paying a multiple on the tool based on their EBITDA for the tool. So we're able to create a whole new revenue stream off the tool.
Interesting. Okay. So how many tools do you currently have then in your portfolio?
A lot. I don't know the number. We have Answer the Public, UberSAS, Ads Grader. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I know there's more, but it starts all blending in.
No, fair enough. So you use that. That is like one of your lead generation tools there. How are you contacting these customers? Are they paid customers that you're reaching out to, or are you sending them, say, emails with information about the agency?
A lot of flows within the app to get them to reach out to us, plus emails. And believe it or not, majority of our revenue comes from word of mouth. Like the business is still young, but majority of at least our enterprise customers, majority comes from word of mouth.
How come you got into the agency space initially? Was that something that you wanted to do? Why not go down like a lot of digital marketers? They build their own website and niche site, quote unquote, e-commerce, drop shipping, whatever it is. Why the agency model?
I love it. I actually enjoy doing the services and the work. When you ask me what do I spend my time on, I even talked about working on client accounts. I actually still do grunt work. Not as much as I used to, but I still actually enjoy doing the work. Like doing marketing on a website for me is fun. I don't actually look at it as work.
Yeah. It's going to be a passion thing then for you as well. So how did you get to the point where you could actually remove yourself enough from the agency to be able to be, I guess, more customer facing, as you were saying, with dinners and things like that? Because I can see that being hard for a lot of people who are maybe starting agencies or have younger agencies or smaller agencies where they're doing a lot of the work, but don't have that time. So how did you get to that point? And I guess, what were some of the steps?
I haven't removed myself. From day one, though, I was never the CEO. Operations-wise, the CEO takes the brunt of it. My co-founder was the CEO. Eventually, we put in a hired gun named Mike Gullickson, who ran an ad agency called iProspect. It was a digital agency where he was the president. I think there was around 7,000 employees that was under his supervision. I could be a little bit off on the numbers, so don't quote me on it. But either way, it was a big agency. It was owned by Dentsu Aegis, which is a publicly traded advertising agency based out of Japan, I think is where their headquarters are, although they claim it's London. But the company's original roots is Japan. So I don't have to deal with like managing of a lot of employees, which is where I suck at. So I get to deal with work and meetings. And the meetings is with customers and potential customers. So it's not like I'm taking myself out of it. Doing meetings with your customers, whether it's over dinner or Zoom, is still being in it.
Yeah, I guess it's good as well. It's because since it is your name and face on the brand, I guess it kind of makes sense to keep that in there too.
I'm involved. And what I mean, I'm involved. Like I got this message. Okay. I'm going to read it for you. It was on Instagram. I have to try to find it. I get so many messages. So someone sent me a message. All right. Please help. NP Digital Leader scanned me. She's a managing director from, and he's talking about a country that we're in. So he shows me a photo of his Facebook page. And in essence, he switched access to this person and gave him access to their Facebook page, and they removed him. And I told him right away, I checked with my team, but I already knew, but I still checked with my team. And I said, that is not, and I put the person who works on my team, looks like someone impersonating her. And she is not based out of Los Angeles. She lives in, and I told him where she lives.
Yeah.
And she's not even on that platform, by the way. Right. So I broke it all down to him. And he's like, oh, crap, I got scammed. Their email address wasn't an NP Digital email address. It was a random name at, 003 at gmail.com. And even though my company didn't promise him anything, and I know a lot of people impersonate others, I still took the time to respond. I emailed someone at Facebook that I know to see if they could help. I reached out to the Facebook normal channels on their website. And I reached out to people at my company if they also know someone at Facebook that could help them. And of course, they eventually admitted, like, you're right, I got scammed. I'm sorry. Even though it's not my fault, I still feel bad for the person and I want to help them. That's what I mean by being involved. Whether someone's a paying customer or they're not, whether you're making $1 million off of someone or zero, if you can help, try to help. And that's always been our philosophy.
And that seems to be how you've also, your personal brand is huge. And it looks like you've leveraged that really well. How did you grow such a huge following in the space of SEO, which isn't huge, but I mean, you obviously have the business space too, but huge YouTube following, Instagram, everything else. How did you go about that? Was there some strategy involved, or was it just sharing content and that kind of blew up at the right time?
Sharing good content and doing it for many, many years. See, everyone thinks about like, oh yeah, you blew up. Well, yeah, I've been doing this for over 10 years. No one really wants to put in the time and energy. If you do something for more than 10 years, it really pays off. But who wants to put in 10 years?
That's exactly it. When you look back at some of these accounts now with hundreds of thousands of followers, doesn't mean what the niche, you go, they've been slaving away multiple times a week 4 years. I mean, some people still don't crack it. I mean, often it's a war of attrition. Is there something that you would put your following is, I'm going to say, out of the ordinary compared to some other, 1.6 like million people on YouTube. That's a big following. Is there something in particular that you can put that down to?
I don't think I have 1.6 on YouTube, but I could be wrong. But either way, then the number's decent. I'm telling you, it's consistency. What we talked about, doing something long enough, that's what people forget. Like if you look at OpenAI, everyone's talking about ChatGPT. Did you know OpenAI was founded in 2015? We're in 2024 now. All right. Yes, they blew up faster than most companies. They also had $10+ billion in funding, mainly server resources, but they had a lot of cash, right? So it wasn't something like that just happened with the snap of the fingers. And I think that's what most people get wrong. It really does take a long time, even if you have a lot of funding like OpenAI. It's not an overnight success. Most things aren't. You just hear about them and then people assume that they're overnight success. It doesn't matter if you're building a company, building a personal brand, all good things just take time.
Yeah. It was 1.24 million, not 1.6. I got that wrong. But hey, still in the millions of subscribers here on YouTube. And we must have jumped to AI actually while you mentioned OpenAI. Has AI made its way into your agency in terms of workflow, content creation, anything in that space?
It has. So, for example, there was a university called University of Technical Institute, and we use AI to help create their content. So they're a university with campuses all around the world or all around the United States or different locations. And what we did is we leveraged AI to do research on all those local areas surrounding the campus so we can create better content. Now, we didn't use AI to write up the content, but we use it to do quite a bit of research. We found that 94% of the time when AI writes content without human intervention, human written content from our own experiment ranked higher. And the traffic difference was drastically different. So we try not to use AI to write really all the content, but we use it for research. We use it for ideation. If some of us are getting stuck, we'll use it for workflows and help with some of the mundane, boring stuff. So that way we can focus more of our time on strategy or things that require a higher level of thinking. But AI has been great. I just don't see anytime soon where AI is just going to quickly just replace humans and just be able to do all the work. Because what it really lacks is creativity and thinking outside the box.
The content that AI can spit out can be average at best, if we want to call it that. Is there a specific tool that you use for some of this research? Is there one that you'd like in particular?
Like both ChatGPT and Gemini. I know Gemini is getting a lot of crap right now, but we still like it. What's funny though is I was reading a teleprompter. So when I record a lot of my YouTube social media content, I create the post on X myself, like word for word, I'm writing it out. Okay. My team helps me with the research and the stats and stuff like that, but I'm actually writing out the tweet or the post or whatever you want to call it these days. When I record my short form content, I'm just reading it line for line, right? Because I created the tweet, I'm just reading it word for word, and it turns into a short form video. And then my team does the editing and puts it online. So the last time I was recording, my team also gave me some other scripts to read. And like, oh yeah, we created this. This is for like upcoming webinar promotions. And I started reading, I'm like, this is the crappiest content ever. And I asked Salo, because Salo's first language is Portuguese. I'm like, did you write this? This is just terrible. And Salo typically doesn't write content. And I wasn't trying to do it in a mean way. I was like, dude, Salo's one of our best marketers. I'm like, what the heck happened here? He's like, oh, my bad. I used ChatGPT to create the content. I'm like, no wonder it was so terrible. And I was just like, he's like, yeah, we tried modifying him. I'm like, yeah, it was still really terrible.
I think most people have similar experiences around the content. It waffles on a lot, long sentence or long structures in the beginning of sentences, huge conclusions, repeating everything, but and like waffles on. So
it just it just says a lot of random crap that doesn't even need to be in there. I'm like, what's the point of all this fluff? Just delete this shit.
No, I'm with you on that. It's interesting you use Gemini. So as you mentioned, it's been getting a lot of press attention recently, obviously negative press attention. Have you found it's as powerful, as good as ChatGPT for, I guess, idea research compared to some of these other tools?
We find it's really good overall. I wouldn't use it to create images, but hey, they removed that feature anyways, right? But like, it's pretty good for research.
Yeah, fair enough.
And if you want to compare the free version of ChatGPT and the free version of Gemini, we think the free version of Gemini is better. At least their index is more up to date and you're getting more new, fresh stuff than you would from ChatGPT.
Interesting. Okay. Hopefully that's something that the listeners can take away from that too. And obviously SEO is ever changing. I think you're probably aware of what's going on right now with Google releasing 2 big updates, a lot of manual penalties going on with various sites. Is any of your processes or SEO processes or anything you're doing changing currently, or have they changed in the past maybe 6 months or so as SEO has really kind of turned on its head?
No, because a lot of the processes and systems we were using have worked well even throughout these algorithms, such as making sure the content is really helpful before even the helpful content updates, making sure that the content is new and fresh and is talking about stuff that people have never read before, focusing on building links organically and manually, not buying them, focusing on things like the user experience and being like, why is this? A lot of people are clicking the back button on this page when it gets a lot of traffic. Focusing on updating content that's old to make sure it's fresh and relevant still. Focusing to make sure that web pages load fast and are usable for all devices. Doing things like creating tools and building a lot of natural links by giving away tools for free versus just only relying on content. But there's so many strategies that we use in our SEO belt that they've worked well because what we focus on is not optimizing for Google. We focus on optimizing for the user, which is what they also focus on. And that's how we believe you win in the game of SEO in the long run.
Nice. And you mentioned there about gaining links naturally or organically versus buying. And you mentioned tools being one of those strategies to get links back to it. What else are you doing then to earn some of these links?
Amazing content, refreshing and updating content. We find that you get more links over time when your content's really fresh, up to date. Free tools, infographics still work really well. We love doing interviews with other people and putting that on a website or a blog. We find that gets tons of engagement, not just on social, but it generates a lot of backlinks. Extreme example of this, and we weren't the ones who did it. If you interview Vladimir Putin like Tucker Carlson did, you're naturally going to pick up thousands of links without doing
Yeah.
much. That's the example of a powerful interview. I'm not saying the interview is good or bad. I'm just talking about it from a data standpoint in which you're going to pick up a lot of links. If you interviewed Bill Gates or Elon Musk, you're going to get linked to. And it doesn't have to be that kind of a caliber of a person. It could be
Yeah.
much lower, like interviewing someone like me. Maybe you'll get a few links from that, right? If you just use a lot of these strategies, what we find is it just builds links over time. We still email out people for like dead links. Still works to this day. A lot of marketers are lazy doing it. They're like, hey, you're linking out to a lot of these articles. They're dead. Here's an updated article that has everything that they had plus more. And here's what's more. And you may want to update your links. Like we still get a lot of links from doing that kind of stuff.
Do you find, or maybe if there's some advice for someone who's starting on their website where, you can write good content, update content, but you're still probably not going to rank. Your website is too new. So for that to gather links, it's probably not going to happen. Is there something, it's just kind of like that reaching out to 404 dead links that people have? Is that kind of like the strategy you'd use to start? And potentially maybe interview some people if you know people, but I'm sure a lot of people don't even know people in the space.
If I was starting off, I would free tools. The second one would be emailing people on the dead links. And the third one would be infographics. Infographics still generate a lot of links because you can see what articles are already linked to heavily on the internet, create an infographic based on that, cite your sources, and then message out those sites linking to it, be like, hey, you may want to embed this infographic. And we find that to still crush it from a backlink perspective. You can't just create an infographic. It has to be done based on that approach that I just broke down, or else it doesn't work as well.
So you have to go find a page that's heavily linked to, create an infographic based on the stuff on that page, cite your sources on that page, and then email that infographic out to the people that are already linking to that page.
Bingo.
Is
But
that right?
that only works if the page that has a lot of backlinks is a very data rich page and you can explain it in an infographic that makes it way easier to understand.
Okay. I like that. I'm just trying to think. I've been looking at my pages being like, man, I should have some infographics every now and then just for my own content and things. I just haven't gotten around to it. Even just something as simple as that, because you're leveraging someone else's content to do it anyway. It just makes sense.
Yeah, how it works.
Are you getting them to link straight to the picture, or are they the infographic on a page that they're linking to?
Get people to embed it.
Yes. Okay. Now that makes sense. It makes sense.
It works.
How are you leveraging, or are you leveraging social media at all so you're not reliant on complete organic Google traffic?
We rely heavily on social media. We send out so much stuff in which on X, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, we're posting on these sites every single day. And it's getting our brand out there.
Have you found one platform to be better than another?
My favorite platform is X. And it's not for any political reason. The reason I like X has nothing to do with Elon Musk. See, if you post on Instagram too many times and you post some crap content, it hurts your reach for your whole page. But on the flip side, if I post 10 pieces on X and 2 of them are hits and the rest suck, X doesn't penalize you for posting crap. So then I take the winners from X and I turn them into short form videos, and then I post them on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
Okay.
So then I'm only posting my winners on the other platforms that penalize for crap. But I test out all my stuff on X, so then that way I have less crap on the other networks.
That's smart. That's smart. Do you do a similar strategy for your clients then in terms of social, or are you just doing the straight SEO for organic traffic?
Different client, different approaches. It depends on what vertical they're in. Most clients are not producing the amount of content that we're producing. So you don't have to post as much on X to actually figure out the hits, because if someone's budget is much smaller or social's not as big of a channel, they only want to post 3 times a week. That's different than me, who's posting probably like 30, 40 times a week. You get what I mean, right? Like you kind of know what's going to be a hit and what's not. But when you're posting 40 plus times a week, it's hard to know all the time what's going to be a hit.
Yeah. How often are you reposting hits on X exactly the same, maybe like a month later to see it, just to basically get more engagement on the same tweet?
We don't do that.
You don't do that at all?
No, a lot of people say we should do that because it gets more engagement. We don't care to. We use X as a platform to figure out what to use on all the other platforms.
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong approach. We just use it for our goals, and our purposes are because we generate more business from LinkedIn than, let's say, X, right? Doesn't mean X is a bad platform, but we're focusing on our mission or our main goal. What content can we produce on the other platforms that are always hits? We need X as a testing ground. Don't care to just get more engagement once I already know what's a hit. I'm not going to post the same video on Instagram twice. Doesn't do that well.
Oh, fair enough. I actually have a Chris from another SEO when I said I was going to interview you, and it's about Uber Suggest. And if you can turn Uber Suggest into a new Ahrefs, so everyone can leave Ahrefs to use Uber Suggest because of the Ahrefs credit system, is that something you've got in the pipeline at all?
We're working on adding a lot of the features and building up our database more and more like them. So we're working on it. It takes a while. Ahrefs has done a good job. I get a lot of people are upset with their payment plans and how their new pricing.
Okay, well, there you go. You heard it here first. Potentially in the future, Uber Suggest might be the one you move to. But I know you've got another meeting in just a second, Neil. So for anyone who wants to follow you and figure out what's going on, where can they do that?
My social handles are all Neil Patel, and my website is npdigital.com. My blog is neilpatel.com.
Easy as to find you. Just search his name and you'll find him. Thanks for coming on, Neil. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.